off me!
Do I know you? Okay. I've heard worse excuses to make a video. Was that a cooking pun? Well, that guy seemed familiar. What game was he from again? Aidyn Chronicles. Oh yeah, now I remember. It was one of the few true RPGs on the N64, and it was released in 2001, the same year as the GameCube.
So it's no surprise that few people remember this game. In fact, there is very little information available about this game or its developer, H2O Interactive. It seems they only made 4 games total. Tetrasphere, The New Tetris, Aidyn Chronicles, and finally the Flintstones, Big Trouble in Bedrock. And considering they started out with developing puzzle games, it was pretty ambitious for them to attempt an RPG. Let's see if it pays off. First, we need to name our hero. And if my memory serves me from when I was a kid, I'll name him Fumbles. So the game starts out with the cook frantically searching for Fumbles. But unbeknownst to him, Fumbles is in the forest searching for a lost farmer. Fumbles manages to take roughly 3 steps before triggering a cutscene. Fabulous. Just fabulous. Not to mention this information being tendered is rather useless. We end up wandering around fighting rats and bats for a while, and then end up facing some goblins! The battle is so intense that literally 1 point of damage defeats Fumbles. But he's saved by a healer named Oriana. During this time, he has a dream sequence with weird creatures, and also the pointiest boobs ever in any video game. These things make Lara Croft look normal, and they're being waved around as though they are intended to poke out your eyes.
Now, I'm not gonna poke fun at the graphics too much. The graphics are N64 graphics. Have you ever played N64? Then you know exactly what I mean. The graphics are N64-y. In other words, awkward and terrible.
So, plot time! Oriana can't heal goblin poison, so you go to the castle. And this is where the main game pretty much begins. You report to the king who, after hearing you've been poisoned, decides to send you on a quest to Errorman to get cured. And that you need to have 3 party members with you to aid you on this quest. You get to choose between Aidyn, the knight, Rita, the magician, Brenna, the thief, or Godric, the alchemist. I chose Aidyn because I need a tank, Rita because she has mad cleavage, and Brenna. I didn't choose Godric because he's creepy as all hell. Also, this castle is a dark labyrinth that I can't seem to navigate well, and I couldn't find him, and I still don't really care about him, and I hope he dies. Speaking of navigating, when you're in a castle or dungeon, you get this vague minimap on your screen. You don't get to see where you are on a map, you barely can tell where doors are, and it's monochrome and uninteresting. And when you're out in the wilderness, you have to open the menu, move to the map screen, and then get a vague placement icon on the main world map. And this world is huge, so don't expect to see much difference on the map when you've moved what seems like an in-game mile. And now for a helpful tip for anyone who wants to play this game. On the beach near the castle, there is a small camp where a cutscene with, I don't know, Emperor Zurg? And an eyeball monster? Whatever. In this camp is a chest. Use Brenna to deactivate the trap on the chest and pick the lock. Inside is a chaos sword and it's a decent weapon, especially this early in the game. What's that you say? The trap exploded? Well, no problem. Simply reload your last save file and try again. What's more, you haven't saved it all yet? Well, you're screwed then.
And I'm not a fan of games that do what Aidyn Chronicles does when it comes to saving.
First of all, it saves the world exactly as the world is, but allows the seed state to change. I am fine with this. This allows the player to reload save files if they screw up on something that is essentially random chance, like disarming traps. What I don't like is that there's no autosave feature at all. Games like Doom also have this. But unlike Doom, which gives you a checkpoint at the beginning of each level, Aidyn Chronicles gives you a long marathon of near empty space, where it's easy to forget to save and then get overwhelmed by some force you may be unexpecting. Like on the road to Errorman, you expect to find more bats and rats, maybe some bandits, but one wrong move and BAM! Minotaurs! Or ogres! Or ogres who are really into S&M. And actually now is probably a good time to talk about the combat. Aidyn Chronicles uses a turn-based combat style. Your character has a free range of movement. To a degree, within this circle, you can move to an enemy and attack, or use spells or potions. Sometimes you'll encounter groups of enemies that have more than 4 in them, but 4 is the maximum allowed on the field. You'll have to kill some enemies for their reinforcements to arrive on the battlefield. And sometimes enemies will flee from battle. When this happens, you get a small reprieve and can maybe focus on harder opponents.
You're probably wondering, do I lose the experience points from enemies that escape from battle? The answer, of course, is no. You get to keep the experiences till you kill them. Woo!
Speaking of experience points, you need them to get better skills. You could spend them in either stats, skills, or spells. Let's talk about stats first. If you're new to RPGs, this may be confusing. If you're well into games like D&D, this may still be confusing. The descriptions of what each stat does is not what you'd likely expect. Dexterity increases movement range, evasiveness, and your chances to hit with weapons. Understandable enough, but would you believe that intelligence also increases your chance to hit with weapons? That's just bizarre. My recommendation early game is to buff your dex up as far as you can, then work on other things like strength and stamina. Unless, of course, you find gear that you want to equip. Skills are pretty useful too. Most of the ones you'll be using are combat skills. Fumbles and Aberkin use swords and shields, so they'll have higher levels than those. Brenna is throwing junk at the enemy, so she needs thrown, and Rita hits things with her stick a lot more than I use her magic so far. Funnily enough, she's more deadly with the stick than Fumbles is with his sword. So finally, when we get to Errorman, we talk to the king who wants us to rid the mountains of goblins in exchange for curing Fumbles of his poison, which means I'm off to ethnically cleanse the goblins from the area.
What, that's not okay to say? Just because goblins never existed, they now get human rights? We cannot live in a world ruled by chaos!
So I've been wandering around these mountains for a long time. You won't believe just how many caves and huts I've searched through in order to find a goblin leader. Not to mention how many times I've died and had to restart from previous saves. Remarkably, fighting the goblin boss is a lot easier than some of his minions. I mean, just look at this goblin lieutenant I'm fighting. Fumbles must have passed his curse on to everyone else. Actually, there's a level system for enemies. There's just no feasible way to tell high-level enemies from lower-level ones. All you could tell is a lone figure walking towards you, and then you get drawn into a battle. Now, you can sneak past certain enemies if you don't want to fight them, but you need like dragon leather armor in order to have enough stealth boost for it to be worth a damn. Once the goblin leader is killed, you go back to Errorman and talk to Kingy. He reveals that he couldn't heal you at all and that you killed all those goblins for no good reason. He then instructs you to go to Talewok, where you can find a sorceress called Ardra. But first you need to find and talk to a Mirari, named Yuraza.
I'm really having problems with the names and places in this game.
Let's see. There's Squirnia, which sounds like what you say when you're experiencing a hernia and have to describe it. There's also Ugarit, which is a terrible name for anything at all, to be honest. Port Said? That's a thinker.
And it's not like there's any voice acting to verify the pronunciations of these names anyways. So for all we know, the developers wanted it to be called Port Salad or some nonsense like that.
Any dang way, Yuraza says you're dangerous and gives you a stick. A stick. Oh wait, it's apparently called a Stormbreaker, and Fumbles is too stupid to equip it. He's too dumb to use a stick. A freaking stick! Okay, let me just calm down a bit. Onward to Talewok. The most notable thing to happen is an encounter with a spirit. This is actually the third time seeing it, but the other times you don't really interact with it. Now, I'm proud to say that when I was a kid, it was really cool to figure out that the spirit was talking backwards. It gave it a sense of mystery and creepiness, but then it was ruined by it talking normally sometimes. Also, it tries to merge with you, and when you get close, you take some serious damage. So Talewok has the wizard school, and in front is Godric. Seriously, he's like a hybrid between Gollum and Steve Buscemi. Anyway, there's a doorman in front of the entrance, and he tells Fumbles to beat it until you talk to someone who could vouch for you. Back in town, we meet Gavin. He vouches for Fumbles, and then it's back to the school. The doorman then only lets your party in when they say their true names. But apparently, Fumbles doesn't have a true name, so what does Doorman do? Let you in anyway. Inside, we wander about until we find Ardra's room. She tries to heal Fumbles, but can't, and then sends him into the woods to talk to the Dryad Queen. The Dryads are weird. Up until now, nearly every NPC I've met was rude. I mean, I should have guessed as much because I didn't bother with the diplomat skill, which makes people more friendly when talking to you. But the Dryads aren't only just rude, they are very sexually suggestive. I'm sure it was supposed to make the Dryads look like an enlightened race or something, but it just comes off as creepy. Especially when the Dryad Queen comes on to you stronger than when a AAA game wants you to buy their in-game currency.
Topical joke!
She seriously makes a lot of innuendos and expects to be wooed in return. Let's see, Fumble's troubadour skill is, well, let's not worry about that right now. How do I do the getting girls like me thing again? Oh yes, just say the corniest things you can possibly think of and it will work every time. Probably. Don't do this! She tells Fumbles to go find a flower that'll cure the poison, and it seriously takes me a long time to find this stupid thing. The forest is too damn dark and it doesn't decide to spawn until you basically step on it. After that ordeal, Fumbles goes back to the Dryad Queen, who says that he's a wilding and that he should go back to Ardra. Ardra attempts to cure the poison with this flower and finds out that Fumbles isn't poisoned at all. Turns out it's that pesky not having a true name thing that's killing him very slowly. So now the game takes on a new quest line where you need to get your true name or you'll go crazy and destroy the world.
Like I've never heard that before.
Ardra freaks out and sends you to find a wizard of the naming school, Cradawgh. But you can't get to him because he's on an island. So you go to Port Said, but you can't get a boat to take you because the lighthouse isn't lit.
So now we enter what I like to call the busy quest section of the game, where you're faced with a minor problem and have to fix it somehow, over and over again.
Lighthouse broken? Well, go scour the caves for a spell to relight it. Your boat is about to be destroyed in a storm? Tie that stick that Uraza gave you to the mast. Wait, it was supposed to be the helm? Damn it, Fumbles! You had one job. Do I need to have Kevin Bishop talk to you?
Ooh, look! It's the boat steering thing.
This is called the helm.
I'm almost surprised he didn't tie it to his head. So because of Fumble's fumble, they arrive on Chaos Island.
Here on Gilligan's
So how do we get off this island? Well, according to the skipper, we need to go on a walk. Seriously, even a skipper knows just how useless Fumbles can be. He's like, "You broke my ship." And Fumbles is like, "Can I help fix it?" "No, now get the fuck out of my face." "Okay." So on this island are nothing but Chaos Minions. Oh, and the devil apparently. Fumbles and friends defeats them all and climb to the top of the mountain, which triggers a cutscene that basically goes like, "This place is evil. This place is really evil. I've never felt such an evil presence. Guys, I think this place is evil. I'm starting to think this place is evil." Back at the ship, the skipper has miraculously finished repairs and he's ready to set off again. So this time, they arrive at the Namer's Island, which looks like it was destroyed by Ganondorf looking for the blue orb from Wind Waker. Also, it turns out we arrived too late. Cradawgh is dying and can't give Fumbles his true name. Oh well, I guess that's the end of the game. Nah. So, back on the boat, with Crumbum's dead body, of course. Back to the mainland, back to Talewok to tell Ardra the news. Also, there's a funeral, but I can't seem to find where it's supposed to be, so screw it. On to the next town. I don't think Cradawgh, will mind being dragged around the world, Weekend at Bernie style. Terminor is the place to be this time. So what's their problem? Turns out the necromancer Shamsuk is blowing up nearby towns, and it's up to you to stop him.
That's a very unfortunate name. It sounds like a rejected Pokemon.
But how could someone as bereft of skills such as Fumbles take on a necromancer? Enter Neeson. He's a mage that's actually friends with Rita and apparently cursed by Shamsuk and will die and become a zombie or something. Neeson insists that an assault on Shamsuk's tower that is located in the nearby bog will stop him once and for all. But I already have a full party, so someone's gonna have to be left behind, and that person is Aidyn. Yeah, I don't even have a choice in the matter here. He's the only one that doesn't insist on going, so I have to let him go, which means Fumbles is going to have to play tank for a while.
You know, I'm feeling pretty bad for Fumbles. And hey, I just found an option to rename him. So let's give him a name that's more fitting to his new position.
And there. Perfect. Aidyn Jr. Now maybe he won't miss every single swing. Okay, to be fair, apparently there's a whole mess of creatures and enemies that are immune to magic. And my weapons are enchanted. Even the Chaos Sword's poison is considered magic.
And guess when I found that out? Yeah, after I finished the game.
Shamsuk's tower is the most confusing section of the game so far. There's multiple levels, secret doors, Super Mario 64 paintings disguised as doors, dungeons, bedrooms, bathrooms, a kitchen? Okay, so obviously Shamsuk lives here. Now I feel like I'm invading this guy's house and all the monsters inside are just servants because this guy is so old that he needs help to get out of bed in the morning. Regardless, we came here to stop him, so let's loot all his cool shit. Eventually, I managed to find this area that's the N64's version of an acid trip. No thanks to that useless mini-map. I'm assuming there was some sort of puzzle to get to the middle, but I just ran around trying all the secret doors until it unleashed Emperor Palpatine here. Once he's dealt with, we can move on to the Inner Sanctum and encounter a Fire Lord. Apparently this guy is like the Balrog of this world, and Neeson decides to face it alone and he's blind? Wait, this is news to me. There were multiple cutscenes of dialogue with him and never once do I recall him saying he was blind. Oh well. Neeson sacrifices himself and the party can escape through the teleporter. The teleporting system is the same as the cauldrons from Banjo-Kazooie. Each one has a partner and can only be activated if you've touched them both. So the Jester comes out and... wait, did I mention him yet? The Jester is the apprentice of Shamsuk and has been following the party from place to place, giving clues in order for us to eventually defeat his master. Oh, and he says this.
Beard doesn't rhyme with herd. Go back to clown school and retake Rhyming 101. Also, just shut up.
So we still need to find Shamsuk, and apparently he's teleported to the starting area to kill Oriana, you know, that healer that saved Fumbles in the beginning of the game.
Y'all ready for some spoilers?
Surprise, Shamsuk's here. Surprise, the healer is dead. Surprise, he knew all about Fumbles not having a true name. Surprise, the healer is his mom. Surprise, they fight after finishing off Shamsuk. And I'm happy to say that I don't have to say that name anymore. The Jester runs off with the staff and... now what? Oh, back to finding my true name? Oh, okay.
Then what was the point of attacking the tower? What? You're saying it's just added plot? Okay then.
So I guess I need to fill this gaping hole in my party. Now, before you had a few different characters to choose from, but now more options open up. Let's check them out. There's of course Godric, the alchemist, though at this point I have so many potions that I don't need him. Then there's Kaelin, the thief, pretty much Brenna with extra cleavage, so pass. Arturo, the tankiest tank who ever tanked. Donovan, the Fumbles clone, and there's a bunch of other characters who I couldn't find or could really care less about. Oh, and of course there's Aidyn. Good ol' Aidyn. I'll go with him because I'm already used to him and he also looks like Commander Riker. Come to think of it, Brenna kinda looks like Counselor Troy. And Rita could be Dr. Crusher. So who does Fumbles remind me of? Heh, I don't know. So, moving on. The last town to explore is Ugarit, which is located in the obligatory desert area. Since we haven't seen that yet, there's a gate into the area which you must solve a riddle. And if you choose the wrong answer, you fight some elementals. Whoop-de-doo. I guess if you want, you can actually farm experience from this, but for me, I've gained enough experience fighting everything else so far that I've managed to max out all the major stats on all of my characters. So now it's all about those skills that I haven't mastered yet. Since Fumbles is no longer my tank, I've been focusing on wizardry for him. The answer to the riddle is, of course, true name, if anyone was wondering. So I get to pass through the even more desert area and eventually find the city of Ugarit. Once there, I find the Emperor, who is supposedly able to give Fumbles his true name. Of course it's not that easy, as I need to, I don't really know, kill a bunch of ancient undead and get a great horn or something. Trying to do that is easier said than done. This is the most confusing part of the game by far. You even get step-by-step instructions, and it's hard. It goes as such: find a tomb, kill the monsters, get the sword, find the barrows, touch the rocks, go into the corresponding crypts, kill the guardians to get magic items, put the items in special places, kill the final dude in the barrows, and get the horn. The guardians and final boss guy would probably be more of a threat if I didn't have this awesome spell I like to call Wall of Bones. Probably because it's called Wall of Bones. It incapacitates enemies indefinitely, and if all opponents are incapacitated, you automatically win. It works both ways too. Whites love using Frozen Doom, which is pretty much the same thing. Back in Ugarit, Emperor Dave Thomas gives Fumbles to run around and says that only the dragon can name him. Oh no, I was too late. He was the last one. Actually, no, that's not the dragon I'm looking for. And where is the dragon? Well, your first guess is probably the right one. It's Errorman. But before we go back there, we need to get our spirit bro. Remember him? So on the way, we meet up, and with very little fuss, we merge. And all without sewing or crying like a little bitch.
Did I really just do a Peter Pan reference? Is this my life now?
Oh, sorry. So there's a door in the caves under Error Town, and it leads to the Dragon's Lair. And the dragon looks pretty decent. I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but that's definitely a dragon. So good on you, game. The dragon gives Fumbles his true name, and it's... I knew it! Again, not really, but it's whatever you named your character. So if you named yourself, say, Butt Breath, that's what your true name is. Alright, so we got our name, we killed a bunch of evil stuff, what's left? Ah yes, going back to Gwerne, which is under attack from the forces of chaos. All the fighting is taking place on top of the walls, where we meet up with Prince Sheridan, who explains that Fumbles is actually the son of the king also, and he's jealous and blah blah blah, plot pulled out of his ass to give the story more meaning. So we fight and he dies. Then we find a pointed boob demon thing from the one vision that we had at the beginning of the game, and now is the greatest battle that ever. Well, never mind that. So, with the evil defeated, the king dying, and Sheridan dead... Wait, the king! He really is dying! You know what this means? Fumbles becomes king, and that's the end of the game.
Wow, that was really quite the marathon. So overall, is it a good game? Is it a bad game? I would say that it's a middle-of-the-road RPG.
It has its flaws, yes, but it also has a sense of charm about it too. It's not perfect, but open-world RPGs were still relatively new to the scene at this time, and it was trying some new things. I didn't even get to explore the whole world, or talk to everyone, or seek out the lore. If you're a casual RPGer like myself, it may not be for you, but if you like immersing yourself in a fantastical world, you might just be pleasantly surprised by what you find in this game.
But I can't seem to shake the feeling that H2O Interactive saw just how popular Final Fantasy VII was and wanted to cash in. Though I don't think it went exactly how they wanted it to.
Hey guys, if you've made it this far, I would like to thank you for enduring this 25-minute long episode. And if you'd like, you could leave a like, you could leave a comment, I'll read them. If you really wanted to, you could subscribe. That would really help me out, help out my channel. And hopefully I'd be able to get more content out for you guys. So I'll see you guys later.